Welcome to the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, a weekly broadcast sponsored by CVC Coaching, hosted each week by industry speaker, coach, author, and educator Jerry Eisenhower. Our presentations are produced to assist business owners and managers in turning their business dreams into their business realities. And now, here's your host, Jerry Eisenhower.
And I want to welcome you to another episode of the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. This podcast is sponsored by the CVC Success Group, where our mission, our motto, everything we do is provide the tools to turn your business dreams into your business realities. So today we got another phenomenal guest on our show. This is a person that's going to share tremendous value with you, and I know that she can make a change in what you're doing because of who she is, what she does, the messages that she brings forth. She is a speaker, she's an author, and she presents to, and her company, along with her husband, Mac, what they do is they create leadership training for blue-collar frontline workers, the kind of people that are working for you. Because some of the things that they profess, I'm going to tell you what, I want you to get out your notebooks and be prepared to write, because Rhea Story, who is my guest today, is going to be slinging gold nuggets out, and you need to be getting these down. At the end, we're going to tell you how to get some of her books and those kind of things. So we're going to go with this today. So Rhea, are you out there ready to rock and roll with my listeners today?
Absolutely, Jerry. It's a privilege to be with you. Looking forward to our conversation this afternoon or this morning.
That's it. So I'm going to start off, Rhea. I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. And my first one is, you're involved in writing books. You present training for many people across America. And you've even gone as far as you've done a TED Talk, and you have presented at Yale University, which is pretty impressive. I think I was it was like when Mike talked about that, he said he didn't know where Yale University was, but you guys had that opportunity. So I want to start with, tell me how you got started in your journey of leading blue-collar leadership and working to change what I call the DNA of leaders and the people who work in the front lines in blue-collar businesses.
Sure, Jerry, that's a great question. Really, I started my career working as a waitress in a pizza restaurant, and there was nothing wrong with that. It was good work and it was honest work, but I was making $2.13 an hour, and it didn't take me long to figure out that I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. But the job of my dreams wasn't going to come find me at the pizza restaurant. So I realized if I wanted some life to be different, I was going to have to do something different. So I started trying to develop myself. And what I realized was, I went to school, went to community college, I got a couple of degrees, but all of my development, my intentional development, was really on the competency side, that is knowledge, skills, or abilities. And I didn't have a lot of intentional character growth. And all through my college career or any of training for any job I've had a lot of so-called leadership training, but none of the training that I had ever talked about leadership as a language to influence people. And so I do share a passion with my husband, Mac, on leadership development. Particularly, we do a lot of speaking together, and his particular passion is for the blue-collar frontline workers. And what I realize is that leadership principles apply to everybody. So we love to, and we share a passion for making these principles simple and easy to understand so that everyone can apply them.
That is phenomenal. And that, when you see this, listen to what she said. She was working in a pizza restaurant and she saw more for herself. And then she didn't wait for someone to hand it to her. She went out and pursued it. One of the things that I see, and you just spoke on it, and you write about it, is the importance of the word influence. Can you share with me what you consider the importance and value of this word of influence is?
Absolutely. we really can define leadership as influence. And I was that person that thought leadership is for the boss or the owner of a company or the manager. I didn't see myself as a leader. But when I realized and learned that leadership is really defined as influence, then every single one of us want more influence in life, right? We all want to be able to influence not just people at work or people in our company or the boss that we work for. We want to influence our family, our spouse, our kids. How many of us want to influence our kids to make better choices in life? So to me, when we define leadership as influence, then it becomes very important for all of us to really intentionally study some leadership principles and intentionally work to apply them. Because as we increase our influence with other people, we increase our options, we increase our opportunities in life. And life gets better when we can increase our opportunities and our options. We all want life to get better, but we don't think about, let me go read a leadership book to increase my influence. But it's absolutely possible for every one of us. I am living proof.
That's it. And in doing research, because before we got together this morning, I had to get inside and know Ria and find out what's Ria's value. And I wanted to share this with people today. And one of the things that I pulled out was you presented a TEDx talk, and the title was Bridges Out of the Past, a survivor's lesson on resilience. And this hits me really big and really hard. I wrote a book called Chaos to Reinvention that went through my own transformation as I went into coaching. But often in coaching, what I see is people look in the rearview mirror too much, and they got to start looking through the windshield to go home. So can you share some of your thoughts on how to find that bridge out of the past, where past experiences, life experiences, are holding your back? Maybe it's a fear of failure, and people don't understand that failures is what can fuel your future success. So what thoughts would you share on me out of that talk about bridges out of the past?
Sure. I think resilience is incredibly important, not just for leaders, but for us as people, because every single one of us face adversity in life. So the only question is, how do we respond to it? And do we come out the other side? I like to say that resilience is the difference between, when you go through something hard or something tragic or something catastrophic. Resilience is the difference between I didn't die and I learned to live again, right? So resilience means we go on to thrive. We stop looking in the rearview mirror and living our life looking back at mistakes we've made or things that we've gone through. Those things influence us, but they don't define our future. So I like to use a 4-letter acronym to kind of use the model to build the bridge, so to speak. And the word is RISE. And the first letter stands for respond proactively. So we have to respond proactively, which means Dr. Covey's definition is responding based on our values, right? We don't get to choose what happens, but we choose our response to what happens. And we have to respond proactively, both to things in the past that have affected us, but also the things that are going on day to day. Every single day we have opportunities to respond proactively. And the more frequently we can do that, the better and more effective we become at life. So that's R. The next step is identify accurately. Knowing that we're not looking back forever at the past, not forgetting it, but not spending our time focused on it all the time. The next thing we need to do is identify accurately what are the things that we can control in our situation today, and identify where we're going in the future, because that gives us the ability to make small changes or small steps, if you want to call it that, to get there. So we've got to know where we are. We've got to know where we've been. We also need to know where we're going. And that brings us to the third letter, S, which is step forward consistently. I like to say that we fail to really appreciate the value of consistent progress forward. But almost any goal worth achieving in life, whether you want to climb a mountain or run a marathon or, transform yourself and develop your character, it's the power of that transformation is in the small steps every single day, right? You can't climb the mountain. You can't climb Mount Everest in a day. But if you move forward a little bit every day, you find yourself at the top. And the fourth letter I like to say is just experience joy. And a lot of people that I talk to say, I can't be happy until, or I can't be happy because. But, joy is a choice that we make. And I think there's true power in experiencing joy in our day-to-day life, because so many of us wait for things to get better. We wait for the perfect job, or we wait for the perfect opportunity. And I think that we create the biggest obstacles in our life because we aren't willing to accept what we cannot control and then focus on what we can. And, joy isn't a product of our circumstances. It's absolutely a mindset that we adopt.
And I want to draw attention to something. This is one of the places where you heard her mention Stephen Covey. What this tells me is that Rhea is a person that researches, because what we do as coaches, as speakers, as consultants is we don't dream this stuff up. We have to do education and research in order to get there. So remember the quotes, because that's what I love about their books. They're littered with these great quotes. But one of the things that we do, Rhea, and I get this from you and from Mac, is that, you consider that your work is to affect the reinvention of people and companies and their people to move to a higher level. I love the term high impact team that I've heard you guys use. Can you share with the listeners how you feel reinvention of yourself, and that's as vastly important, is required of each of us as human beings in order to reach our personal and our business dreams?
I like to say that no one becomes successful in life by accident. And most of us pretty much understand that. We know we need education. We know we need character and personal growth. We need leadership and influence. We pretty much intuitively understand that success in life, however we define it, doesn't happen by accident most of the time. But what I also like to say is that once we've learned to be successful in our own right, there's almost another level when it comes to really becoming the best version of ourselves. And that's the significant level, moving to significance in the life of someone else. We can't get there until we've learned to be successful for ourselves, because we can't give someone something that we don't have. So we can't help someone else climb the mountain to success unless we've learned to go there ourselves. But I really know and understand that a transformation is required of us personally, because to be successful, we have to value the things that help us be successful for ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that. But the transformation comes in being willing to sacrifice that success for ourselves, or sacrifice a component of it. Perhaps it's sacrifice our time, or sacrifice financially, and being willing to sacrifice and give up for something else. And that's a shift of values, right? To be successful, we value being successful. To be significant, we value someone else becoming successful. And that does require transformation. Not everybody is going to be willing to step across that line and sacrifice for someone else. And again, nothing wrong with that. It's just a difference in values. And that transformation is personally being willing to shift our value to value someone else being successful.
Phenomenal stuff. And what you're looking at is this is going to involve change. And as speakers, we usually have a point of view, and we base much of what we're talking about on a point of view. And mine is all about change. And the thing that I keep in my mind is change is painful. I want to tell you that. It is going to be painful. And what you've got to do is decide, is the pain of what you're going through, is it worth the pain of change? Because that's what transformation is. It is changing in your habits, changing in the way that you operate, the way you speak to people, the words you put out. So let me ask you this. I'm sure that you walk into doing a seminar and you probably hear comments like this from business owners. They're going to say, there's no good people out there to hire. I can't find anyone who wants to work. Nobody wants a job. And we both know this often comes from a culture or brand that doesn't attract the right people. If someone made that statement to you during a seminar or in a telephone conversation, what would you tell them, Rhea?
I think as leaders, it's important for us to accept responsibility. And that's difficult to do sometimes, because as leaders in an organization, it's tough to look at the culture that we have and accept responsibility and say, I've led this team or this company to where we are today. And I've got to take responsibility for improving it. Because let's face it, the culture does determine who wants to work there or who doesn't want to work there. And the culture is shaped by everyone who's there, but it's largely influenced by the leader. And until the leader is willing to embrace that responsibility and step away from blaming other people or the employees who don't or do want to work there, they have to be willing to take that responsibility. It requires humility, certainly. I think it's the biggest trap that leaders fall into, or that we fall into as people, is what I call the victim mindset. The moment we start blaming someone or something else for our circumstances is the moment we give up our ability to change and improve them. And that's a lot of responsibility for a leader. It's heavy, because when we look at the culture, or we look at problems in the business like lack of employee engagement or high turnover, these are symptoms of a culture that is negative. And as a leader, we've got to take that responsibility and just say, I don't have to be perfect, but I do have to be improving, and it starts with me.
Yeah. One of the things I've seen in your writings is people come sometimes to a seminar you've done, and they may leave with a few tears when they start doing the self-realization. I know back in 1987, I listened to a seminar in Louisville, Kentucky, and the guy put it on, and the title of it was, Would You Work for You? His name was Paul Rodillo, and he had a wonderful message. And like myself and you and others, we didn't start out as speakers. We started out in normal jobs, those type of things. So you recently released and you speak on a book entitled Achieve, Maximize Your Potential with 7 Keys to Unlock Success and Significance. Can you share a little bit about these keys? And I'm going to tell you, I love that word in the title, significance. So what can you share with us on that?
Sure. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because, once again, I believe leadership principles and personal growth principles for success should be simple to understand and easy to apply. But a lot of times they're confusing or vague. And so it leaves us with a lack of knowledge on how to apply them to our situation. So I like to break it down using the acronym ACHIEVE. The first letter there is attitude. We always have the ability to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances. Attitude creates positivity, it creates possibilities, and it gives us perspective. So the more often we are able to choose a positive attitude, it opens doors for us. Looking for the good, because whatever we look for, we'll find. If we look for the bad, we'll find it. If we look for the good, we will find it. The second key is C, stands for choices. Choices today define how and where we are going. Eleanor Roosevelt said, I am who I am today because of choices that I made yesterday. And I love to go on and say, if that means that who I want to be tomorrow is based on the choices that I make today. So when you look at it like that, there aren't any little choices because they do compound over time. The third key is H, humility. Humility determines if we will be humble, if we're open to learning, if we're open to growing, are we teachable? It's not as though we want to put ourselves down. Real humility isn't saying I've done something well. It's just making sure that we don't say, wow, what a great person I am for doing it. The fourth key is integrity. Integrity requires character and courage and commitment and congruency. So do we walk the talk? Do we have the courage to face reality and the ability to improve it? E stands for energy. Our energy is largely influenced by the people around us, our environment, our health even. And our energy gives us the passion. Our passion gives us energy. So our energy derives from that passion, which is why it's so important to be in alignment with where we really want to go. And I touched on that earlier. V stands for vision. The vision gives us hope for the future. You've probably heard, hope isn't a strategy, but we have to have hope to create a strategy. And there again, we've got to have a vision for becoming our best self, so to speak. And the last key, another E, stands for excellence. Because with people, the little things are the big things. And it's not just about going the extra mile a lot of times that helps us be successful or significant. It's going the extra inch. And that will help you get ahead in any job, in any role or business. You know, anytime you're serving a customer or serving your boss or a team member, going the extra inch consistently will build your influence. And over time, creates a massive momentum in how you stand out as a high impact person.
Right. So one of the things I believe is that every human being has to get up every morning, and we got to pump ourselves up that we're going to win today, that yes, we can do this today, no matter what the adversities that come up. You know, you walked in front of a group at Yale University, you walk in front of groups, and I'm sure that you pump yourself up to go on stage, because this isn't just a presentation, it's a performance. So how do you pump yourself up to walk in front of a crowd, to make sure that today is going to be a day that's going to be a little better than yesterday was?
To me, it's not necessarily about pumping myself up for the crowd or for the presentation, but for me, it really begins with an intentional mindset in the very first few minutes of my day. So I like to get up very early, and I like to have some quiet time. I like to set my priority for the day in that first few minutes of my day. You know, what's the one most important thing? Whether that's giving a presentation and I need to focus on my energy on that, or maybe it's, you know, writing a chapter on a book. So I really think for me, it starts with being intentional right first thing in the morning. And then as the day progresses, commit to being fully present. I think so much of the time we let our mind wander when we're in a conversation and we fail to be fully present. And the moment we step away from being fully present is the moment that we lose our ability to fully connect. And the work that we're doing, when we are passionate about it, we're excited about it. And so it shouldn't be difficult to stay in that present moment. What we find is that when we're not excited about it, or we consider it something we don't want to do, or we're not excited about it, that's when we find our minds start to drift, our attention start to drift. And we can't be the best us if we're not really focused on what we're doing or thinking or saying. So, you know, two things for me, that intentional time first thing in the morning, and then making sure that what I'm committing to and what I'm doing is in alignment with my priorities, my values. Because if I'm excited about it, I'm naturally going to be more enthusiastic and pumped up for it. You know, I get up very early in the morning, and most of the time I don't even have an alarm clock. I just wake up because I'm just excited about the day and the opportunities. But that's because I love what I do. Mac and I love to say that we don't work a day in the week, but we do what we do all day, every day. And that's a mindset shift to doing life and doing what we do, rather than having to follow through with priorities or work or something we don't get excited about.
And, you know, I want to verify what she said about getting up early, because in preparation for this podcast, she sent some emails back in our discussions, and it came from her like 3:30 a.m. in the morning. In fact, when I got on with her, I asked her before we began this, are you a late night person? Are you up early in the mornings like this? Or you're in a different time zone right now? Well, she's in the Eastern time zone in Atlanta, Georgia, and 3:30 this morning, she's sending me emails in preparation for today and prepare for her, you know, opportunity to speak to you. And that's the type of commitment we each have to have. And listen to the value that she's sharing with you. Listen to the words influence, all those kind of things. So, Rhea, I'm not going to ask you a question except the following. What gold nuggets can you share with our listeners for them to go grasp this influence, for them to get past what's in the rearview mirror and start looking through that windshield and get over the fears of failures? What's your gold nuggets for today?
You know, I love to think about, we are the number one most difficult person to influence, right? But our success in life and our influence with other people begins with who we are, not just what we do. And that's a different shift. I mean, what we do is important, absolutely, but it's who we are that leverages what we do. So the golden nugget for me is first realizing that my success as an individual and my influence with other people starts with, the choices that I make every single day. And, I've got to be able to lead myself well before I can expect to be able to influence and lead other people. So as an individual, am I leading myself well? It's not, our influence doesn't come from being perfect or not having mistakes, or being afraid of trying something. Our influence comes from acknowledging our weaknesses and being able to overcome them. So a lot of times in life we make a mistake and we do allow that to influence us into becoming afraid of trying something again or not taking risks. But we can't accomplish very much if we do that. And so I think it's so important to look forward and there again, focusing on the opportunities that we have rather than the barriers or the roadblocks or the detours that we've entitled. It's not so often a question of can we do something, but most often it's a question of just figuring out how can we do something. And when we ask how we can do what we want to do, it assumes that the answer can be yes. And so that really gets our brain working into possibilities. So important as we look toward the future. And, there again, also knowing why we want to do what we do, because that will give us the courage to overcome those fears sometimes that hold us back.
Yeah, and that's like one of my mentors and one of the people that's coached me is Jeffrey Gitomer. And one of the things he professes is the attitude of yes, which is beyond a positive attitude. It's an attitude, and I use this often in presentations, and I get kind of loud when I do this, but you got to have this attitude of yes, I can do this. This is what you got to put into your minds. You've heard a lady speaking here to you today, and I want you to be able to reach out to her. I want you to be able to follow her on social media. She publishes great motivation. It might just be the idea that you need for today. And I'm also going to encourage you to order some of her books, because this is the thing. Leaders are readers. Being able to see this and see it in writing, and I'm sure you can get it in Audible that a lot of people do. So Ria, how do they get in touch with you? How do they follow you? And what, where do they order your books? And what would be the number one book you would suggest to our listeners to get of yours if they were going to order a Ria Story book today?
Yeah. Best way to get in touch with me is through my website, riastory.com. So that's riastory.com. You can order my books there. You can find a link for my podcast, information on events and things like that. Or you can follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search up Ria Story and you'll find me. The one book that I really love to share for personal growth would be Achieve. And we talked about those 7 different keys, really because that's my Start Here book for those who want to increase their influence and become more successful. And I think all of us want to do that at some fundamental level. So the principles that I write about, they're not rocket science, right? They're nothing new or strange, but it's, for me, I love to pair those principles and make them simple along with real relatable stories. And a lot of times we learn through the examples of others, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing stories, because I think we learn better from that. So I would say start there. If I just had to choose one, I'm really excited about this book.
Okay, so I'm going to highly encourage you, look up Ria Story, follow her on social media, get her books in. Her and Mac, her husband, are a phenomenal team, guys and gals, a phenomenal team. And they have so much value they can share with you. If you're listening to this and you're looking for someone to do a keynote for your group, I'm going to highly give you my testimonial that this is a team that if you put in front of your people at your next meeting or even with your own workforce, I think they can make a difference to this. Ria, I want to thank you for your time today, because the value and the gold nuggets that you put out are truly fantastic. And it's been an honor, it's been a pleasure, and it's been a privilege. I hope you and Mac, maybe one day we can do a joint one with both of you on our podcast. Would that be possible?
Absolutely, Jerry. We'd be delighted.
Okay, because I'm going to tell you what, these guys are unreal. And in the coaching industry, being able to find coaches that you can network with, that can share ideas and help each other. And I know that's the intent of these guys. They are simply a phenomenal pair. Yeah, Mac and myself, we both talk with heavy Southern accents. That was the thing when I interviewed Mac. His accent's Atlanta, Georgia. And he calls me Mr. Jerry, which is common in Georgia people. So anyway, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure, Rhea. And this has been the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on all our social media. If you're not aware of it, we have a virtual training platform we'd love to get you involved in. We have our hiring mechanism where we're hiring people as a recruitment agency now. And we've got people that can help you in all phases of your business. So all you got to do is reach out to us. So thanks for joining us again this week on the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, brought to you every week by the CVC Success Group.
Thanks for joining us here each week at the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, sponsored by CVC Coaching, providing you the coaching and educational outreach services you need to move to your dream destination in business and in life.